What happens when you take the very last pick of the NFL draft, the 262nd name called, often labeled Mr. Irrelevant, and give him a real chance? For Brock Purdy, it meant facing the ultimate challenge and rewriting what that label could mean.
San Francisco 49ers select Brock Purdy, a quarterback from Iowa State. Go Niners!
He entered the league with few expectations and even fewer believers. Now, Brock Purdy's story has taken a dramatic turn. After years of proving himself, he signed a 5-year, $265 million extension with the San Francisco 49ers, making him one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL. But this journey didn't start with a contract. It started with a moment that most players hope to avoid. For Brock Purdy, the journey from Mr. Irrelevant to NFL hopeful began the moment his name was called as the 262nd and final pick in the 2022 NFL Draft.
Another quarterback here in Brock Purdy started 47 games at Iowa State.
The title comes from a unique NFL tradition, a nod to the underdog, but also a reminder that expectations for the last pick are nearly non-existent. Quarterbacks chosen in this spot rarely make an impact, and most are seen as long shots or even a backup role. When Purdy heard his name, he knew what the label meant, but he also saw an opportunity to change the narrative. Purdy's draft day wasn't filled with the fanfare that surrounded top prospects. His family, gathered in anticipation, wasn't even certain he'd be drafted at all.
San Francisco 49ers select
The moment was equal parts relief and challenge. While some might have let the Mr. Irrelevant tag define them, Purdy leaned into it. He understood the skepticism. After all, analysts had spent months questioning his NFL future. Despite setting 32 school records at Iowa State, including career passing yards and touchdowns, he faced doubts about his size, arm strength, and athleticism. Scouting reports called him average, with some suggesting he lacked the tools to even stick on an NFL roster. But Purdy's mindset had always been shaped by doubt. He wasn't a celebrated recruit coming out of high school, and he'd spent his college years proving people wrong. The draft didn't change that. Instead, it gave him a new challenge, showed he belonged, even if the odds were against him. His father joked about the possibility of being Mr. Irrelevant, and the family approached the moment with humor, but Purdy took it as a chance to prove his worth. He didn't see the last pick as an insult. He saw it as a door, one that was barely open, but opened all the same. The San Francisco 49ers selected Purdy with little expectation that he would become a team leader. The franchise had invested in other quarterbacks and saw Purdy as a depth piece, someone to fill out the roster or maybe develop on the practice squad. Even within the 49ers front office, the decision was practical. General Manager John Lynch later admitted the pick served us well, but at the time, Purdy was an afterthought. Coaches and scouts like Brian Griese and Steve Slowick saw flashes of potential, but no one expected him to climb the depth chart quickly. Arriving at training camp, Purdy faced a reality that most seventh-round picks know too well. Every rep mattered. Every mistake could be his last. There were no headlines announcing his arrival, no big media scrums waiting for his first throw. He was at the bottom of the roster, fighting for attention. The pressure was constant. For 7-rounders, the margin for error is razor thin. One bad day, and you could be out of the league before you even played a snap. Yet Purdy's approach stood out. He was quietly confident, determined to make every opportunity count. In interviews, he spoke about pride in simply earning a spot, acknowledging the odds without letting them define him. The work didn't stop here, he said, and he meant it. The 49ers quarterback room was already crowded. With an established starter and a well-regarded backup, Purdy was not expected to see the field. His role was to compete, learn, and maybe earn a spot as a reserve. For many, it would have been easy to accept a background role or fade into obscurity. But Purdy's history of overcoming doubt fueled his persistence. He approached each practice with the same intensity he brought to college, making the most of every snap, every drill, every chance to show he belonged. Still, the emotional weight of being Mr. Irrelevant lingered. There was little external validation, no guarantees of a future. Every day was a test, not just of skill, but of mental toughness. The reality for late-round picks is harsh. Most don't make it past training camp, and fewer ever get the chance to prove themselves on the field. Purdy knew this and used it as motivation. He wasn't interested in instant recognition or glory. He wanted a shot to contribute, to show that being the last pick wasn't the end of his story. As the weeks went by, Purdy's work ethic started to get noticed. Coaches saw his willingness to take risks in practice, his ability to handle pressure, and his steady improvement. He didn't demand attention, but he earned respect. The climb from Mr. Irrelevant to NFL hopeful wasn't about one big moment. It was about persistence, preparation, and staying ready for whatever came next. And in the NFL, opportunity can appear when you least expect it. For Purdy, the challenge wasn't just making the team, it was staying prepared for the moment he might be needed. The next phase of his journey would test whether his determination and quiet confidence could carry him through the toughest competition of his life. For Purdy, joining the 49ers wasn't just a new chapter, it was a reality check. There was no fanfare, no fast track to the spotlight. He entered as the fourth-string quarterback, sitting behind Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Nate Sudfeld. Most people assumed he'd be lucky to land on the practice squad. The team had invested in Lance as a first-round pick and still had Garoppolo as an experienced starter. Purdy's role seemed clear. Learn quietly, stay ready, and hope for a chance that might never come. Expectations for his rookie season were about as low as they could get. The 49ers didn't need another quarterback to step up. They just wanted depth in case of emergencies. Purdy's selection was more about insurance than opportunity, and he knew it. Even in training camp, he was usually the last guy to take snaps. Every rep was precious. Every mistake was magnified. Coaches and teammates had little reason to pay attention to another late-round rookie. For Purdy, it was a daily battle to prove that he was worth a second look. The challenge wasn't just physical. The mental side of the NFL is brutal, especially for someone with little margin for error. A seventh-round quarterback doesn't get a learning curve. He gets a narrow window to show he belongs. Purdy had to maximize every moment, no matter how small. Instead of getting frustrated by his limited chances, he focused on what he could control. He spent extra hours with the playbook, learning the offense inside and out. He refined his throwing motion, worked on timing, and made sure he was ready, just in case. Purdy's work ethic didn't go unnoticed. Coaches saw how he prepared, how he broke down film, and how he approached each practice with purpose. He didn't just go through the motions. He treated every snap, every scout team drill like it mattered. Teammates respected his effort, even if they didn't expect him to play. He was determined to be ready, even if his shot never came. But the depth chart didn't budge. Lance was the future, Garoppolo was the present, and Sudfeld had experience. There wasn't much room for a rookie to move up. Purdy stayed patient, knowing that his opportunity might come suddenly or not at all. He kept working, kept learning, kept his focus on being prepared. Then, the unexpected happened. Injuries hit the 49ers hard. Trey Lance suffered a season-ending injury early in the year, and Jimmy Garoppolo broke his foot later on. Suddenly, the team that barely noticed Purdy had no choice but to turn to him. In Week 13, he was called into action, not as a novelty, but as their best option. This wasn't just a minor backup appearance. Purdy stepped into real NFL games with playoff implications. The pressure was intense, but he didn't flinch. In his first significant action, he threw a touchdown, making him the first Mr. Irrelevant ever to do so in a single regular season game. The following week, he started against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, leading the 49ers to a convincing win. He became the only quarterback in NFL history to beat Brady in his first career start. His early performances were more than just flashes. In his first 5 starts, Purdy posted a 119.4 passer rating, the highest for a quarterback in his first 5 starts since Kurt Warner.
Here is a look at the delightful surprise of Brock Purdy by the numbers. The third-string 49ers quarterback thrilling fans and coaches alike after taking over for injured starters Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo.
He became only the third rookie since 1970 to win 2 playoff games. Suddenly, the doubts about his size, arm strength, and draft status faded. People started to wonder if the 49ers had found something special at the end of the draft. The shifts in perception were clear. Purdy wasn't just filling in. He was making plays, leading the team, and showing poise under pressure. The narrative changed from whether he'd stick around to whether he could be the answer for the 49ers. His preparation, persistence, and belief in himself paid off in the most challenging circumstances. What comes next for a player who goes from invisible to indispensable almost overnight? That's the real test, proving to everyone, including the league itself, that he truly belongs. When Brock Purdy stepped onto the field in Week 13 of the 2022 season, few expected much from the rookie who started the year as the 49ers' fourth quarterback. He was behind Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance, and veteran Nate Sudfeld. A depth chart spot that usually means you're just an insurance policy, not a future starter. Most late-round quarterbacks spend their careers on practice squads or never see meaningful snaps. But with injuries to both Garoppolo and Lance, Purdy suddenly became the next man up for a team in the middle of a playoff race. The situation wasn't just high pressure, it was a crucible. The 49ers were riding a 4-game winning streak, and the expectations were clear. Keep the momentum alive. Purdy didn't have the luxury of easing into the role or learning from the sidelines. He had to step in and immediately show he could handle the responsibility. The stakes were high, and the margins for error were small. Every decision, every throw would be scrutinized, not just by coaches and teams, but by fans and analysts across the league. His first true test came the following week, when he made his first career start against Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Facing Brady, a 7-time Super Bowl champion, is a challenge for any quarterback, let alone a rookie who'd been overlooked by nearly everyone. Yet, Purdy approached the game with composure and confidence. He led the 49ers to a decisive 35-7 victory, becoming the first quarterback ever to beat Brady in his first career start. That win was more than just a good game. It was a clear message that Purdy could handle the spotlight in that matchup.
Play action. Purdy has Kittle. First down, San Francisco, beating Jerome Baker by just enough.
Purdy displayed the skills that had been questioned throughout the draft process. He made accurate throws under pressure, read the defense well, and kept the offense moving. The Buccaneers' defense tried to disrupt him, but he stayed calm and executed the game plan. His poise stood out, especially in moments where the defense tried to force mistakes. Instead of folding, he delivered, showing that kind of preparedness and focus that coaches value. What followed was a stretch of performances that started to change how people saw Purdy. Over his first 5 starts, he posted a 119.4 passer rating, the highest for any quarterback in their first 5 starts since Kurt Warner. These games weren't played in low-stakes situations. Every week, the 49ers were fighting for playoff positioning. Purdy's consistency, decision-making, and ability to run the offense under pressure made it impossible to ignore his impact. A big part of Purdy's breakthrough was how often he was underestimated. Opposing teams saw a late-round rookie and expected to take advantage. Defensive coordinators dialed up blitzes, hoping to rattle him, but Purdy adjusted quickly. He made smart reads, avoided big mistakes, and took what the defense gave him. Each week, he gave his team a chance to win, and each week, analysts and fans began to reconsider their assumptions about what a player drafted last could accomplish. The 49ers make checks at the line and take calculated risks. That trust grew with each game as Purdy continued to deliver. His teammates responded to his leadership, and the locker room rallied around him. The narrative shifted from, can he survive, to, how far can he take this team? One of the defining moments of his rookie season came against the Seattle Seahawks in a crucial divisional matchup. The 49ers needed a win to stay on track for the playoffs, and the environment in Seattle was as tough as it gets. Purdy managed the game efficiently, avoided costly errors, and led the team to a 21-13 victory. Performances like this made it clear he wasn't just a temporary solution. He was a quarterback who could handle big moments. As Purdy continued to string together strong performances, the league began to take notice. Analysts who once dismissed him started to highlight his accuracy, football intelligence, and leadership. His coaches, who initially saw him as roster depth, trusted him to run the offense with confidence. The support from teammates grew as well, with veterans backing his approach and work ethic. By the end of his rookie run, Purdy had turned the narrative upside down. He showed that a player drafted last could step into a high-pressure role and deliver results. The question was no longer whether he belonged in the league, but how far he could go. His journey up to this point set the stage for a new kind of recognition, one that went beyond stats or highlight reels. It was about earning respect, both inside and outside the organization, and about what that respect would mean for his future. Recognition in the NFL often comes in the form of contracts, and for Brock Purdy, the turning point arrived with a deal that changed the conversation around his entire career. After a rookie season that saw him step in under the brightest lights and outperform expectations, the San Francisco 49ers made their intentions clear. A 5-year, $265 million contract extension with $181 million guaranteed put Purdy among the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. For a player whose career began as the 262nd pick, this was about more than money. It was a moment of validation. Purdy's journey to this contract wasn't a straight line. The doubts that followed him from draft day didn't disappear overnight. Even as he moved up the depth chart and found himself starting, every week brought new questions. Was his early success just a fluke? Could he keep it up when teams had time to prepare for him? The skepticism was real, especially from analysts who saw him as a temporary solution. But Purdy's ability to rise to the occasion, especially in high-pressure moments, started to shift the narrative. A key milestone came in Week 14 of his rookie season, when Purdy made his first start against Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. No rookie quarterback had ever beaten Brady in their first start before. Purdy not only managed the game, he led the 49ers to a convincing win, showing poise and control that caught the attention of fans and experts alike. That victory wasn't just another notch in the win column. It was a statement that Purdy could compete at the highest level, even against legends of the game. His performance in those first 5 starts as a rookie was historic. Purdy posted a passer rating of 119.4, the highest for any quarterback in their first 5 starts since Kurt Warner. This wasn't just a hot streak. It was a level of play that forced people to reconsider what a late-round pick could achieve. The 49ers offense didn't miss a beat with Purdy at the helm, and his consistency under pressure made him more than just a backup filling in. He became a real asset. The contract itself reflected the 49ers' belief in Purdy's long-term value. General Manager John Lynch spoke openly about being surprised by just how special Purdy had become, while head coach Kyle Shanahan made it clear he saw Purdy as a quarterback who could lead the team to a championship. The structure of the deal showed strategic planning. By spreading out bonus money and guarantees, the team could reward Purdy while still maintaining the flexibility to keep other key players. The inclusion of a no-trade clause gave Purdy added security and showed the depth of the organization's commitment. Of course, not everyone agreed with the size of the contract. Some former players and analysts questioned whether Purdy had shown enough to justify such a big investment, pointing to his limited sample size compared to other top quarterbacks.
Guys are
so
out there.
all these guys stink coming out this year in the NFL?
Well, who knows if someone gets drafted in the second and third round that they thought was just like on paper, just some guy, and he turns out to be unbelievable.
So that could always happen, obviously.
Others looked at the numbers and the impact he had on the team, especially during the 2023 season when he led the league in passer rating, yards per attempt, and QBR. For the 49ers, the decision was about more than just stats. It was about leadership, resilience, and the ability to deliver in big moments. For Purdy, the contract was a milestone, but he kept his focus on the field. He expressed his happiness with the deal, but made it clear that his priority remained football and leading the team. The no-trade clause in particular gave him a sense of stability and respect that went beyond financial terms. It was a clear sign that the 49ers saw him as their quarterback for the foreseeable future. Fans responded with enthusiasm, seeing the contract as a well-earned reward for a quarterback who had defied expectations.
Quarterback Brock Purdy have agreed to a 5-year, $265 million contract extension. That's the latest from our NFL insider.
That's it. Lead this team for years to come. That's it. That's it. Let's go. Sure. Keep going. Make it official.
The story of the last pick in the draft becoming a franchise cornerstone resonated beyond San Francisco, inspiring conversations about what's possible when preparation meets opportunity. Purdy's deal wasn't just about his personal journey. It became a symbol of hope for players who entered the league with little fanfare. The contract marked a new phase for Purdy. He was no longer fighting to prove he belonged. Now, he was tasked with showing he could sustain his level and continue to lead. The deal didn't just change his financial situation. It changed the way people viewed what's possible in the NFL. And as Purdy moves forward, his journey continues to offer lessons about the value of persistence, preparation, and believing in yourself, no matter where you start. The impact of Brock Purdy's journey goes beyond his stats and contract. It's about the legacy that he's building as the ultimate underdog. The story starts with a player who was nearly overlooked, but has now become a reference point for what's possible when someone gets the chance to prove themselves. Purdy's rise from Mr. Irrelevant to franchise quarterback has changed the way fans, teams, and players think about what it takes to succeed at the NFL. One of the most striking effects of Purdy's success is how it's made people rethink the scouting process. For years, the league focused on physical traits, height, arm strength, speed, often at the expense of intangibles like leadership and resilience. Purdy's ability to step in and lead the 49ers under pressure has forced front offices to pay closer attention to these qualities. General Manager John Lynch summed it up when he said, "We made him the last pick of the draft, and it served us well." That single decision has paid off, not just for the team, but for how organizations evaluate future talent. Purdy's influence isn't limited to front offices. His peers have taken notice too. C.J. Stroud, one of the league's promising young quarterbacks, publicly defended Purdy, saying, "I think P is a good player. I think P is a hell of a player." That kind of respect from another quarterback speaks volumes about how Purdy's reputation has grown. It's not just about being a feel-good story. He's earned credibility in the locker room and across the league as someone who can deliver when it matters. His journey has also sparked conversations about player development. Historically, late-round picks and undrafted players have been seen as long shots, rarely given the same resources or opportunities as first-rounders. Purdy's rapid development once he got his chance suggests that teams might benefit from investing more in overlooked talent. His story highlights the value of mental preparation, work ethic, and adaptability, traits that don't always show up on scouting reports, but can make all the difference. As a result, Purdy has become a blueprint for both players and coaches on how to maximize potential, no matter where a player is drafted. Comparisons to Tom Brady are inevitable. Both were passed over in the draft, and both proved the experts wrong. Like Brady, Purdy has a knack for making those around him better, elevating the entire team. This isn't just about filling a role in a system. It's about taking ownership and leading with confidence. Purdy has even addressed the system quarterback label, saying, "The whole system quarterback thing, early in my career, it was just funny hearing that. I'm not going to lie. I took it as I'm a guy that can come in and do what the coach says and win games because of that. So to me, that was more of a compliment, and I sort of ran with that." Instead of letting that label limit him, he used it to show his ability to execute and win. The contract that Purdy signed is another chapter in his legacy. The 5-year, $265 million extension includes $181 million guaranteed and an average annual value of $53 million, placing him among the highest-paid quarterbacks in the league. The deal also features a no-trade clause and April 1st vesting guarantees, which protect both Purdy and the team. The 49ers structured the contract with an eye on the future, spreading out bonuses to help with salary cap management. This kind of deal not only reflects the team's faith in Purdy, but also sets a new standard for how late-round success stories can be rewarded. Purdy's story isn't just influencing the NFL. It's reaching athletes in other sports, people outside of sports too. His path shows that what matters most is not where you start, but how you respond when you finally get your shot. The message is clear. Determination, preparation, and self-belief can open doors that once seemed closed. For every player waiting for their break, Purdy's rise will shape how teams scout, how players prepare, and how fans view the underdog. His journey stands as a reminder that success is possible for anyone willing to put in the work and stay ready for their opportunity. The story of Brock Purdy is still being written, but what he's accomplished so far has already left a lasting mark. When you look at what Purdy has achieved, it's clear that the NFL is about much more than just raw talent or draft status. It's about perseverance and making the most of every opportunity, an idea that leads us to consider what really defines greatness in this league. Brock Purdy's rise offers a clear example of how NFL greatness can come from unexpected places. Just ask Tom Brady. Went from a 6th-round pick to 7 Super Bowl wins. Purdy's journey from Mr. Irrelevant to leading the 49ers to the Super Bowl and landing a record contract challenges the old assumptions about where stars come from. When people called him a system quarterback, Purdy laughed it off and said, "I took that as a backhanded compliment." His story is proof that hard work and preparation matter just as much as draft status. What other underdog stories in sports inspire you? Share your thoughts below.